Thank you. Rachel, how are you? Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Hi.
Morning, guys.
Good
How are you guys?
morning.
We're
We're
good.
good.
We're good.
How are you?
Good. I walked in well, I usually watch you guys when I'm driving the kids to school and I was listening about the purses and I kind of want to point out something that, is really relevant with all this. I mean, we can look at, for example, the Kambosos Haney fight in June, right? All these reporters keep saying, sources say, Haney's going to get guaranteed purse of 2.8 and Kambosos was guaranteed a $10 million purse, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's without the pay-per-views. The pay-per-views, I think, Kambosos had the 70% of the split. But I mean, now with his manager Peter Kahn and his trainer suing him in Florida, those numbers got released that Kambosos walked away with a 3.8 net purse from the June fight um with with Haney.
Correct.
And and then plus the pay-per-view, which I thought it was like around either 400,000 and then the seats were like 200,000 plus. But that's nowhere near a guaranteed of what we were told as a story. And I think it's interesting that because none of these I haven't seen a boxer really say, yes, this is the exact amount I got. They never confirm nor deny it. And then there's always these quote unquote sources that I feel buff up the purses and it gets this disillusion of what really is in the market and what your value is when they do that. So when they go into these negotiations, it's kind of an inflated ego, right? Because they're like, oh, okay, well that guy got that and I'm worth more than him, so I should be asking for double, triple, whatever, if that makes any sense.
Total sense. Total sense. And you're right because we were definitely sold and convinced that Cambosos was making 10 million.
Which
Everybody.
I think it would be a marketing tactic. I mean, the only person that would benefit is
Peter
promotion
Khan.
companies because then they're going to look at them and be like, damn, that guy's making that much. I need to go over there, right?
Yep.
See, and I always thought that fighters would get more than what's being reported because I remember, you always hear
Tax purposes,
tax purposes,
child support
or
purposes.
no, yeah, back end checks, and
No,
no,
no.
for
I've
sure.
heard, man, I've been doing this for 11 years. I've heard in the industry, child support is number one reason the real purses ain't out there. I'm being real.
Mm.
You know, the mommies coming to get all that. They want their percentage. But Rachel,
Yeah.
you are the manager, so you know purses and negotiations. What could you tell us on how to siphon some of these breaking news reports and what to believe and how much of the story to take as truth?
I mean, it's really difficult. I mean, even I've a lot of people have asked me what I thought. I've gotten, different views from different people, and a lot of the reporters as well. And the thing is that what I've always said, and I'll say this again, um, boxing contracts and negotiations aren't like buying a house. It's not like for example, who was it? Isaac Cruz versus Ryan Garcia, when they said that, we offered Isaac Cruz this much and he turned it down. It's not like they put it in writing and you have to sign that you received it and saw the money and you declined it or there's a counter offer. So everything's kind of like weird smoke and mirrors. And I've heard there's been fighters that have talked to me that they heard from their promoter they were getting paid more, but by the time it came through the channels, all of a sudden it's cut off like 25% of what was supposed to be given. Um, so I think the best way to have it is clarity and transparency within the negotiations and leave it at that. With these negotiations, especially with people that are not under the same banner, and even with the people that are in the same banner, these teams aren't directly normally sitting at a table and negotiating out like businessmen, and it's literally smoke and mirrors. So for me, when I try to differentiate um, what's true and what's false. I normally go back to if I can get a hold of them, then I'll call. But if not, then I go with more of the calling around the reporters and seeing what they know as truth. But in all honesty, when it comes down to it, I have to sit back and just realize, when it comes to Nonito not being in the ring and it's other people fighting, I just have to sit back as a fan and realize that it's not my job to figure out why or how it was negotiated. And I'll never call anyone a duck. I'll never call anyone a bum. So for me, it's just whenever it's on my pay-per-view, then I'll click buy, and that's when I'll like really be invested into it. Until then, like I think the energy of trying to figure out who had it fall isn't really going to be in the history books anyway.
So, based off everything you said, is it safe to say you do not believe these brand new reports of 8-figure purses for Crawford and Broner?
Um, I had done so I have a different career field outside of boxing, and most of it is doing due diligence. And for me, in all the best, I really do hope that it is real. But no one else besides, well, of course, AB said it, but I haven't seen anyone that has really confirmed it to me that makes any sense. Um, I mean, even the numbers don't make sense for Bud and Abernesian. At $40, you'd have to hit ridiculous numbers, and that's if you were taking 100% of the pay-per-view buys. So I don't believe it. But like I said, I hope that whatever they sign, that they looked at it like it's at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be either screwed or rewarded. So I'm just at that point, I'm just here for the fights.
And Rach,
But yeah, the stuff, like when I buy stuff or when things are new, I always look into it. All of us do it. We look at the reviews, right? And I'm not basing it off the reviews. I'm basing it off of public knowledge on records of the company. So and the people involved. So I just I'm just waiting to see if it's going to be there. And it was taken off BoxRec too.
yes.
So that was really interesting to see that move go on.
Yep. Have you ever heard of the people behind Black Prime from what you were able to find out?
Yeah, I found out a lot. We could talk offline about that. I'm not
No,
going to open myself up.
it's funny. It's funny because I found a lot and I showed it to my coach and I said the same thing. I'm not going to be the guy to, say the negative. I want to be optimistic and hope that this is real as well. As a manager, I'm assuming you did the due diligence because obviously if there's another player in the game, you have a fighter and, there's a potential there, or is Nonito contracted to anyone specifically?
Nonito's contracted to Richard Schafer. That's it. And that's
as a manager or promoter?
Probellum, co-promotes with different promoters worldwide. So as far as a television network, no. We are like good friends with, Steven Espinoza, and he's been on Showtime numerous times before. But Steven would always have like my ear, and I would tell him and be honest with him that if there was something that was more lucrative that I was looking into, I would, give him the heads up, and I'd just tell him, just out of respect. We've worked with Steven for so long. I wouldn't want to just like say peace out, bye, for something that first of all hasn't been fully established, and I don't know the people, and that's one of the kind of hesitancy in business, right? Like you've been with this person for so long, you know how they operate, you could call them, and then to look at a different entity, yeah, they have money, but you're like, you don't know them. Like you want to sit down, have some coffee first before we go out for some alcohol, because this might not be like a long date that I really want to sit here for.
Now, Rach, obviously you guys have had experience dealing with Golden Boy, Top Rank, Richard Schafer,
Steven.
Al Heyman, Steven Espinoza. I mean, HBO, Lou DiBella.
World Boxing Super Series.
I mean,
Yeah,
you guys have been with
Japan,
everyone.
Tekken.
Exactly,
Oh, wow,
Tekken.
yeah,
I forgot
Tekken,
about
yeah.
that. So what can you tell us? We had a guest on earlier that feels that Al Heyman ruined boxing. My defense of Al was everyone is overpaying. Eddie came in after Al and did exactly the same thing. Now here we got Black Prime and Triller before Black Prime doing exactly the same thing, and now we have Black Prime doing exactly the same thing of overpaying fighters, trying to build a stable for a network. What have your dealings been? Who have you found it the easiest to make deals with? And do you feel that Al is ruining the sport, obviously?
So I feel like, first of all, Richard is the number one person. Of course, Nonito's contracted him, but he is like family to us. I really became a believer in Richard when, we were with Top Rank and there was some negotiation stuff that was going down. And then we stayed with Top Rank. And then after, when Nonito's contract was up, we went out into the, free world again. And Richard was the one that didn't overturn Nonito and tried to basically give him $5,000, right? Richard's fought for him, and anything that I've ever thought of as far as a career path, he's looked into, backed, and provided. So I have zero complaints. As far as our relationship with Al and Tom Brown, there has been, the same thing, like standing on a united front with Richard, with what we wanted. There hasn't been any problems with Al or with Tom Brown either. So for me, it's been easy. I'm not to say that, when they send a contract that I don't redline it. If I don't redline something in the contract, then that means that I'm not doing my job. I have to redline something. I bought a red pen for a reason. So but I think, people like different corporate structures. And for me, I like more family-oriented corporate structures where I could reach out and call you if I have an issue. Top Rank operates differently, and they have, just a lot of people, and it's always like pointing the finger to go that way, go down the hall this way. And I don't feel like there was that really big connection and family with Bob and Todd per se, but like their employees, of course, like you built such a rapport with them. So, and then Tekken Promotions, Mr. Honda, I can't say anything bad about him. He is utmost as far as hospitality, whatever you need, he'll get, or he'll get someone to get it for you. It's always a joy to go to Japan and be hosted by Mr. Honda.
Were you surprised by the reports that Crawford wanted transparency and wanted to see, I guess, the spending that was going on for the contract with he and Earl?
Yeah, and I had talked about it on a podcast before because they were talking about like, oh, they should have showed him his net, and I jumped on and I said, I was like, are you guys, you guys are talking to me like you've never done business before. And they're like, no, they should be transparent. I go, why? And they're like, well, because of this, and that, and something. And, apparently it was from a no guarantee purse when there was a guaranteed purse offered, but he didn't like it. So they went into, no guarantee, but sharing all the proceeds. The problem with that being, first of all, unless you're going to invest in the company, you really don't have any real reason to be opening books. For example, if he was to say, okay, I want to see it and I want to approve expenses. Not that you just want to see it, you want to be able to approve. That means that my undercard that I stacked underneath you that I'm paying, you're going to see what they make, which is against the confidentiality clauses that we all sign when we sign our contracts, and what what I'm bringing in, what I'm asking for my hotel rooms, in addition to who is doing the graphic arts. of the event. Maybe I'm paying 10 grand and you don't agree with that 10 grand. You're like, dude, I could get the guy on the corner who owns a print shop to do it for 1,500. Like, let's get that one. You know what I'm saying? Like, you start nitpicking, nickel and diming, and no one wants someone who's an outside source, not an investor or a partner within the company long term, to tell you how to run your business unless you're going to buy them out, which we all know is not the case. So these are all the possible mishaps that would be if a company were to open their books and someone be able to prove expenses that's not within their company.
Now, Rachel, Bob Arum came out and said that if Crawford had a promoter, the Spence-Crawford fight would be done. Obviously, he used to be Crawford's promoter, so it's almost ironic. But what do you think about that? Had Crawford went into these negotiations with someone that was a promoter that was in good favor with Al, let's say, obviously we all assume him and Bob, it's difficult to do business. But in theory, is that correct? Like, had Crawford had someone that's used to these kind of talks and negotiations, would it have been smoother in your opinion?
I think it would have raised Crawford's value a little bit, because you have to understand that Bob has, like, right, he has ESPN, he has his own negotiations with the sites, especially here in Las Vegas. I think it's safe to assume that the more money he brings to sites, the more, an event that he would get, like, a certain amount of local discount, right, of the site fee. And all the promoters do it. They have their favorites. And I think when you come to the table and you say, okay, listen, I have a network. I have this. I have all this lined up. What do you have? You have that? Okay, cool. Let's talk. Because now it's an even playing field. I'm not just bringing it as a fighter. I'm bringing it as a whole other entity that could do the same thing that you could do. And if I could do it better than you, would you agree to have Spence come to here where I have more of the money and you would get your, co-promotion fee of whatever percentage? Like, it's like you're playing more on that same level. When you come to a negotiation table, they have to want what you have and you have to want what they have and have the same things on the table. If you're coming without any of those things besides your own talent, then you're lower on the stool than they are, because they have the network, they have this, they have that.
In your opinion, does this fight get made, or is it the new Riddick Bowe Lennox Lewis?
I don't see it getting made because of the fact that with Spence, I know he just got elevated to franchise.
What?
But that's within the
what? When?
Didn't he just get elevated to franchise?
I did not see that, but we were talking about the possibility of that since Mauricio did say that Thurman is the mandatory and Spence has such a, negative stance on fighting Thurman. He may accept franchise. Hopefully, Devin diminishing that status will resonate with the rest of the boxers and they don't accept it, but it is a possibility. It is a door to allow undisputed. He takes franchise, lets Ennis fight Thurman for the WBC, and then undisputes with Crawford, in theory, as a franchise WBC champion with all the other belts. I don't like it because you just made Ennis a champion or the winner of that fight a champion, and then we're back to, are you really the number one?
So you guys heard it here first. Rachel Donaire just broke news.
Is it
Errol
true?
Spence has been. No, I don't know yet.
Rach, so how long ago you heard that?
I gotta double check. I saw something come off my phone this morning that said that franchise, and it had a picture of Mauricio. So I gotta check my phone when I get off here.
I
to
hope
see
not,
what that
man.
was about.
I hope he doesn't do that. But yeah, it's a possibility.
So I mean, I heard that Thurman's supposed to be the mandatory, so it's kind of like leaning towards that. If he hasn't been named yet as the franchise, it wouldn't surprise me that when we go to Acapulco, he gets named that.
Good thing we gonna be there.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I hope not. I hope not. I hope he does. Because, his energy is, I don't need tune-ups. That's for people unsure of themselves.
Yeah.
franchise just has a bad name around it. No one that's gotten that belt has gotten it as an award, and instead it's always been looked at as you're avoiding a fighter. When Canelo, the inception of it was with Canelo. Mauricio gave it to him, and it was to avoid Charlo. Charlo was his #1 mandatory. He took that belt so that he could move up to 75 and fight Kovalev. Same thing happened with Lomachenko and Haney. So that belt, that status, I don't like it.
Rachel, I gotta ask, have you heard the audio that was leaked of a one-way recorded conversation
with
Earl Spence discussing not just the fight, but in which he also reiterates that he will not be fighting Keith Thurman? And if you did hear it, what were your thoughts on that audio leaking?
All the audio leaks that I've heard are like really choppy. I don't know why. And then everyone whenever I talk to anyone about it, they just keep saying he's at Disney World. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything?
No, because he said he just got back from Disney in the audio.
Oh, okay. So give me a really quick, like, dirty 15-second breakdown.
He just basically is expressing his frustrations on not being able to get the fight done and reassuring whoever he's speaking to that Al is saying he's going to get it. Don't worry, you're going to get it. He said that Crawford doesn't believe his own lawyers, that Al told him Crawford is asking more questions than Bob Arum has ever asked. Anything I'm missing?
No, just really quick. It seems like, you got everything.
Yeah, okay, so that's kind of the gist of what I got to, from what people have told me, that, Crawford didn't believe his lawyers and this and that. Listen, like, if that's an issue, like, that you needed to get the right lawyer before you went into this, because you don't fumble the bag, like, right when we're supposed to be at the finish line. I think that I knew this was going to take longer than expected, but at the same time, like, to me, I get, Spence's frustration. Like, he didn't have a backup plan to this. And I think for me, as far as a manager, is disappointed in how it was handled, because of the fact that we all, if nothing else, just understand that there's a grown man that has to take care of his family on the other side of that table. And he is betting that you guys are going to step in the ring and he's going to make his bread and go home to his family. And that opportunity was taken away when he wanted to fight Bud on a certain date and wasn't given the reassurance that he was actually going to step in the ring. There was no backup person for him to step in the ring this year. They have to go look for one. Well, I mean, not look very far, but they have to start negotiating. And guess what? Whoever they're going to bring up on that side to fight Spence now has negotiating power, because they all know Spence wants to fight. He doesn't want to sit on the sidelines when Bud's fighting Avernesian. He wants to fight.
Absolutely.
So for me, I didn't think that was the smoothest move. I don't like ruffling feathers like that in the boxing community. And in addition, out of respect as another man that's bringing bread to his house, I'm not going to do that. So for me, whenever I've been in a position where someone isn't responding in a timely manner, I start, putting that stopwatch on. And I'm like, listen, like, we don't do this by now. I told you he wanted to be in the ring by December. Then let's look. We're going to start looking for other opponents. But I give you the heads up that there's something on my mind. Like, I don't just pull the rug from underneath you, because I said, I feel like there's another person on the other side.
According to the Michael Coppinger report that he did with an interview with Crawford, Crawford does say he specifically spoke to Al and Earl and said he told them he was going to fight by the end of the year. So maybe, them sending a contract for next year was, the straw that broke the camel's back in the negotiations for him, because he's like, well, I wanted to fight this year. Now you're trying to make me wait till next year so I could be closer to a year or more out of the ring to give your fighter the better, chance at beating me.
I mean, I understand that, and I've heard that fight before. I mean, when we say next year, there really wasn't like a definitive like when next year. Like there's all 12 months in that year. Now tell me that he said, okay, next summer, next spring, then I would,
According to Dan, it was this February 4th date contract that
which
Crawford.
Steven, yeah, but Steven Espinoza came out. Was it Steven? No, Mike Hoppinger came out and said that that was a lie. Feb 4th was not the date.
Mm.
So that's why I'm like, okay.
Well,
I mean,
in
what
the
if it was
audio,
in January? Would January have been that bad? You
exactly.
know,
The
like,
audio does
you know what I'm
state
saying? Like,
January.
yeah, it really just depends. Like, you know, I don't want to be, um, don't want to be pessimistic about it, but at the same time, like, if you're to say 2023, you can't just say 2023 next year. Come on. Like, when next year? Tell me when. And if it's
Hmm.
going to be next year, November, hell no. But if you say January freaking 1st, 2023, that's really not that bad of a wait. I mean, it's not like everyone's near weight right now and sparred 12 rounds. So what's the rush? Like, you're good. Breathe a little.
So
Rachel,
Rach, I got to give you an opportunity to address some of these comments. People are like, well, she's not going to say anything that isn't favorable to Al because of the relationship and obviously the connection. You know, even though I feel you are saying all this because it's your honest opinion, I do have to address it that way so you can explain it formally because there's people that are doubting what you're saying due to affiliation.
Oh, that's easy. Nonito's contracted to Richard Schafer, pro bellum.
Not Al
We
Heyman.
choose to continue with Al Heyman.
mm.
So I mean, I'm not contracted with him, contracted with Richard.
Did you go through this
And
phase when you first started dealing with Al? Did you feel the need to, like you said, red line and want as much answers to questions that you or we feel Crawford is asking?
no, I never asked for net. I I mean, yeah, like I said, like it's certain types of situations and you know things with site venues, maybe plane tickets and things like that, or ringside tickets, purses, all those things that as far as when you come into a negotiation, you want to get the best negotiation that you can for yourself. In all honesty, in business, the best negotiation that gets settled is both parties have a salty taste in their mouth because they had to give up something, right? So, like I said, like it really hasn't been that like any big of an issue or struggle when I redlined with the contracts with them. So, yeah, I mean they pretty much at this point they know how I operate
Cool.
and I know how they operate and I know when I'm asking too much and they'll be like, "Yeah, you're asking too much." I'm like, "Yeah, well, at least I tried."
Rachel, I have to
Yeah.
ask, do you think that well, two things. The audio leaking, just the fact that anything like that would leak, we typically don't see anything like this
We've never seen that in
other
boxing.
negotiations or anything like that. And the fact that it's a one-way recorded audio, what were your thoughts on that? Because I'm gonna be honest, I found that to be more surprising than what was said in the audio itself.
Yeah, I think that's really suspect. I mean, I think all of us would like to feel like when we're talking, we're protected, and there isn't this weird entity listening in to the conversation and recording what we say.
Well,
I will say
I'm gonna tell you, we have over 700 people listening to our conversation now. So this is
well,
it.
yeah, I know that. No, I mean, like if I call you and I'm
Abs-
like, hey, I'm gonna be at this club or whatever, like you don't need to freaking record me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Um, So yeah, so that's it. Like I will say that most of when I do business calls that are outside of boxing, I always do Zoom recorded. And that's so then we don't have anything miscommunication or misconceptions. And I always follow it up with, with emails. And within boxing, I don't do that. I don't freaking record anyone. What I do is after the call, I do an, this is what we discussed, and email it to them, and then they confirm that that's what we talked about. So now I have a written communication with a person two-way that this is what we were talking about, and this is, what you're going to go look into and what I'm going to go look into. Um, I don't like it. It seems like there was an intention behind the record. Of course, there was an intention behind the recording, but it was just, out of ill intent. I don't think that whoever was recording it, what had like just the purest intention of, oh, well, let me just record this beautiful interaction. No, you recorded it for a reason.
Right.
And it's I don't know, to me it's skeezy. Like, you're tapped, dude. Like, nobody wants to talk to anyone who's wired up.
No, that's a fact.
Rachel, the last one, you got another one? Okay,
yeah,
so
that
the
was
last
my
one
last
before we let you go is, do you think, and this is truly the last one, do you think that Terrence Crawford has put himself in that Demetrius Andre position where he's blacklisted with Al Heyman? Like, has this interaction with Al, in your opinion, will Al hold it against him?
I mean, I don't know him. Okay. I don't know him personally not like personally, where I would know how he would react to the situation. But I do know business. And if you wasted my time, then why would I play with you again? I've seen people say, well, he could have gone after Thurman. He could have gone after, Bud could have gone after Thurman. He could have gone after this guy. He could have gone after this guy. And I'm like, no. First of all, if you were talking to me and my favorite son was supposed to fight you, and we fall through because you decide you want to go do your own thing and you want to fight my other son, what makes you think I'm going to waste another 2 months, 3 months, sit down at the table with you again? You did that to my favorite son. That's how I see it. And if you see it as a business, the same thing goes. Why would I sit down at that table again with you? How do I know you're not just pulling me along for the ride and then you're going to go sign someone else again? So I think it was just integrity. The integrity in it was not there.
Wow, so we're not getting this fight.
I don't think so, because I mean, Spence already said that he felt like he had to move up. And then if he takes franchise, then okay. But what about all the other belts? What happens?
I don't even want that either.
I don't want. Yeah, he takes franchise. He's gonna hurt so many people's heart.
And I just think that we literally just went through nearly 2 years
of
or
bullshit with the 135 division.
Yeah, with the 135-pound division, like for the longest since what was that, October of 2019, it's been an issue. Who is a WBC lightweight champ? And I just think that
champ, franchise champ.
Yeah, it just created so much unnecessary bullshit that hopefully that's not the case. Even though Rachel doesn't believe so, I still want to be positive and think that we're going to get the fight, but we'll see.
Well, Rach, man, we do appreciate your time. If you have any social media, anything you want to direct the audience to, please do so. And just thank you again for coming on and educating us, really. We were privy to talking to someone like yourself that obviously has the experience in this matter.
No, of course. Thanks for having me. I do want to leave with this one more thought, because I did get phone calls this morning, and I've been talking throughout the whole BO convention. Nonito's over there right now. That Bam dropped his
yeah,
BC
we seen that
at 115. So this is going to be a little interesting BC convention.
Oh, so you're petitioning?
You guys going back down?
What? I didn't say anything.
I love it. I love it. All right, Rach. Well, keep us posted on how that goes so we could definitely do a show on it.
Yeah, and we'll see.
Yeah, of course.
We'll definitely
see you out there. We land the 5th or the 6th.
Yeah, we get to
of course.
The first day.
Yeah,
so.
you guys, if you guys want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at knockout_queen, and then of course Instagram is Rachel Donaire. Nonito and I have a channel. We just haven't done anything with it lately. Beyond the Ring with Nonito and Rachel. Just remember, you guys, that at the end of the day, I know we all support our boxers. These guys are still humans. They're still men that have to feed their family. So if you can like support them in any way, buy their pay-per-views, go to their fights, and keep lifting each other up. I'll see you guys next time.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so
Rachel.
much. There you have it. Phone
YouTube family, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to that 1 million subscribers. We're on the road to 1 million. And obviously, we have other great content on our Patreon channel. So since this video is over, head on over to our Patreon and check out all the exclusive content or right here on our YouTube members.